Greetings YouTube, Alan Liu back with another video, and this used to be a staple of my content and I haven't done one in a long time, so let's do a little ProQuest tier list for 2023. Week 1 has already happened. I haven't really seen any recaps of what percentages of heroes won slash converted in the ProQuest. So, but I have heard some things around that Dory has won a decent amount of ProQuest, things like that. So for this tier list, I'm going to do something a little different. Usually I have the S blah 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 tiers and all that. But for this tier list, I think I'm just going to do something like this. Based on how much I expect to see that hero in the ProQuest. And that usually directly correlates to the strength of the hero. But the thing is this is ProQuest, so people are going to bring what they're going to bring, even if Arachne is not the best choice, people will still bring Arachne, and that's perfectly fine. I think this meta is very diverse, and I'll talk about that why in a second as I go through the heroes. But yeah, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you want more of this, let me know. In the past, I've done multiple tier lists in one ProQuest or Road to National season, but I'll probably just stick with the one. So first off, when I think about the meta, I think about the ice heroes in Fi, and I also think about Dash. So these are probably the strongest heroes in the game. Icelander for sure is probably the strongest. Of course, people will say you can't play her perfectly all the time. You can't play like Hamilton every game, so she's not necessarily the strongest. But yeah, I guess in an optimal setting, she's just the best. Oldhim is right up there. Oldhim is weird because he has a decent Fi matchup and aggro matchup if he boards a lot of ice. He's decently aggressive into Icelander, and he has a good overall matchup, but he does struggle into Pistol Dash a bit. But that's fine. Oldham's just going to do Oldham things no matter what. And then Dash is the new kid on the block. Every set, all the Dash believers are always oh, this is her season. This is the season Dash is going to be good. And I would say this is probably finally her season. Pulse Wave Harpoon is a crazy card, and the pistol plan is still there, so hybrid Dash lists have just gotten better because they can do better in the aggro matchup without sacrificing more of the pistol matchup. So I would say Dash is up there too. These are probably the strongest heroes in the game, and at the same time, the heroes you're probably going to run into the most, unless your local meta is very different. Your local meta could be Dory infested or Bravo infested or Lexi, etc. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. For the has legs tier, this is basically A tier and basically any other hero that I think has a pretty good shot of winning the ProQuest. I think what separates this tier from the S tier is that when you play an A/Hag's legs tier hero, you kind of need to make up for the small percentage points in strength with your skill difference. And the higher up at an event you go, like at a calling or a pro tour, the less that margin is. So you're, in my opinion, you're better off playing one of these top 4. But even still, I expect to see a good amount of wins from these heroes in these ProQuests. So Briar's right up there. Briar's also very aggressive and strong. The thing about Briar, the difference between Briar and Fi is that Fi has a much better matchup into Icelander because of the belittles and stuff, and Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to just burst on a turn, whereas Briar struggles a little bit more. Dory, I think Dory has seen a big come up too. One of Dory's worst matchups was Oldhim, and the fact that Oldhim's run less D-reacts, less Earth cards. Dory has a better time into them now, I would say. And, she has a good matchup into Fi and or a decent matchup into Fi, okay matchup into Briar. She can race. Icelander is a tricky one. I'm sure the Dory mains will have their own opinions about that matchup. And then Dash, you can also either just race if they're on aggro, or if they're on the pistol plan, you can just threaten them. Bravo's right up there. I think Bravo has a very close matchup. I mean, I made a whole video on this, but he just has good matchups overall. And I would say Bravo's a little bit better than Oldhim against Pistol Dash, just because of Crippling Crush, On-Demand Dominate, things like that. I think Lexi's probably right up there too. I'm pretty sure Lexi won Battle Hardened. Lexi builds can definitely overcome Guardian. It's sort of like a mix of tempo and aggression versus trying not to get fatigued, and it's not necessarily a favored matchup, but it's definitely one you can win. So I think Lexi's right up there. She can, beat out the aggro decks, but she does struggle into this next hero, Dromai. I think Dromai is also up there in the has legs tier. Dromai's weird because she can race aggro decks, albeit it might not be favored, but she can. And the Guardian matchup is weird. I think versus Oldham, she has some legs. I think versus Bravo, shouldn't win that matchup like at all. But Bravo's not like. I mean, Bravo's getting more common, but you can just dodge them or just beat them. It's not impossible. In terms of the niche tier, these are the ones I expect to win less ProQuest and just have less representation overall. But I still think they're perfectly viable picks to take to a ProQuest. So I think a bunch of heroes honestly go in there. Like Viserai goes in there. Viserai is weird because while he's strong, he's just more card hungry than Briar or Fi, and plays worse off of less cards. But he has the advantage of like much more arcane damage, which can put your opponent in tough spots if they draw a lot of reds and they can't efficiently block you. So there's that. I think Kano's probably up here too. Kano just does his own thing. He plays his own game. People aren't really running Oasis that much. The Icelander matchup I think is also very probably skill testing. I've asked a ton of Wizard players what they think, and they kind of flip-flop on which one's favored in the matchup. So it probably just depends on who you're asking. Azalea has seen more play. Levi has played Azalea to great success, and just in general, she's pretty good. Guardians aren't like an auto loss or anything. The dominate is a big factor to that. Got a lot of new arrow support in Dynasty, so I think Azalea's in a nice niche spot also. Levia is also, I would say, in a niche spot. I did hear the rumblings of the Royal Levia that did well in New Zealand, but other than that, I have not heard much. Haven't tested it myself. Haven't looked at it myself. I'm not really quite sure how it works, to be honest, but she's there. Bolton, I think's niche also. He has the Raiden, which is pretty decent into Guardians, actually. I think Warrior in general, when you play this very mid-range grindy game, can go either way. It's not like, I don't think it's super favored either way. Sabers, you can even also go into Guardian if they're not aggressive enough, and you can just blow them out. Sabers can race aggro. It's not necessarily favored. It kind of is just who hits their good stuff. If Briar hits Channel Mount Heroic versus if Bolton hits combo Triple Lumina on turn 2, it's a completely different game. So Bolton has legs. I wouldn't say he's like, well, actually no, he's not in the has legs tier. Bolton's in the niche tier. He's niche. Not terrible or anything, as previous tier lists would have said, or I would have said in previous tier lists. So I think he's fine. Katsu, I also think he's in the niche tier. The kitty cat Katsu is interesting, but I just feel like it's a worse combo than like Combo Fi or even Sabers Bolton. And a regular Katsu, people are kind of just used to playing against already, and it's not too difficult to combat. And then I would say Reinar actually has legs. It's weird because I don't really know much about Reinar, but Chandler's winning list at the Calling San Jose was pretty well made, and I'm very impressed by it. So I would say that he probably has like solid matchups versus aggro. You kind of just try to trade efficiently and then wait and then blow them out with the Blood Rush Bellow turn. And then versus, like Guardians, you play more of like a mid-rangey game, but when it gets to it, that Intimidate does help you close out games, similar to how Bravo has Dominate. Versus Dromai, you have a lot of poppers. You're pretty resilient to frostbites and stuff for Lexi and all that. I kind of flip-flop between niche and has legs for Reinar, but I don't, in terms of representation, I think Reinar is quite niche, but in terms of like strength, I think he might be up here with the other has legs tier. And then very niche, I'm just going to throw Arachne. I think Arachne just doesn't have enough. He struggles into Guardian, I would say. He can't really race aggro decks. I think he just doesn't have quite the card pool right now. But once more cards come out, especially Codex of Frailty, I think that card is insane. I think that's an easy 3 of an Arachne. So I think after Outsiders, Arachne will probably, have a lot more legs. I'm very excited for Arachne, actually. I'm pretty interested in playing him. Just because, I've played a lot of Bravo, and so I think I just maybe want to spend more time learning another hero also. And trying to push that. I also think that, the way that Brian Gottlieb and talks about how James White, or how they and James White came up with Arachne together, and just them talking about it makes me hopeful for Arachne's like meta relevance and how good he will be. So I would say this is my tier list. It's semi-ordered. I wouldn't really sure how to put Oldhim and Dash. I might just put Oldhim first, just because it maybe has a better spread. I have no idea. Briar, I'd probably put next, then Dorinthia, then Lexi, then Dromai, then Rhinar. And then for the niche tier, probably I have no idea how to order the niche tier, to be honest. Probably something like this. Yeah, Leviah I would put at the bottom of the niche tier just because not quite there. I would expect to see more Katsu than Leviah, but even then. Yeah, this would be my tier list for ProQuest Season 3, 2023. I think we've already seen a lot of successes from, the Has Legs heroes, and as expected, a lot of the meta heroes are performing well. I think it's interesting though, because it seems that like the battle hardens and stuff, Dash and Fi is not really converting as well, but their representation is really high. So I think they're still just like a big part of the meta, and so that's like this tier list is trying to kind of balance between like meta representation and also like hero strength and how I view them. But yeah, this is where I would put everyone. I think Bravo's in a good spot. I think all of the Has Legs are in a pretty good spot, except for maybe Dromai. Like she's kind of just there because I don't know, people are still like figuring her out. So if I might even put Dromai in niche, but I think I would put her in the Has Legs. But yeah, so this is my tier list for ProQuest. Make do of it what you will. If you disagree with anything, please let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching.